cookie-cutter and without character. And yet, New Hampshire seems to stand out among those. Not only is it a traditionally shaped oval instead of a tri-oval, but it's a mere mile long and very, very flat. Opened in 1990, it can still be considered one of the younger tracks on the schedule. But with nearly 30 years of racing underneath it, all of our drivers should be plenty familiar with its quirks. Who can leverage those the best? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Christian, I have a feeling this track is going to be a real test for the drivers today. It's really unlike most of the other ovals that the Cup cars visit.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. This is a 1 mile track or 1.7 kilometers, depending on how you're feeling. We've got a variable banking between 2 and 7 degrees in the turn. That kind of makes a big difference determining what lane you want to pick going in. You'll see there's a couple of different lines. Top line is kind of really good defensive line. Got a 55-minute race here, or 90 laps, depending on what we get to. And yeah, we'll hand over to the lap guide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the GSRC Chevrolet SS. New Hampshire's a 1 mile, pretty much flat oval. Really, when you break it out, there's a little bit of banking, but I think it's just enough to keep the debris rolling down. Off into turn 1, you're going to kind of find this high groove right here and let the car roll through the middle, pick up the gas about halfway into the corner, and then all the way full throttle again on acceleration. If you get back into it too quick, it's going to spin out and get real loose out of turn 2. Back down into turn 3, same situation. Pretty easy to overshoot the entry to the corner, but the same principle applies on the other end. Let it get down to speed, don't get back to the gas too quick, and let it roll out of the corner. Now my mark here for this guide is the number 2 up there on the fence. If you're really feeling brave, maybe for hot lapping, you might be able to break somewhere between the 2 and the 1. If you're really brave, you might be able to go at the 1. But the same principle is going to apply for a race. You're going to want to get down and get the car settled early, because that's going to help that right front give you grip throughout the run. Let it roll through the middle. Don't get back into it too quick, just like I did right here, and fight the wheel all the way off the corner, straight and across the line. That's going to complete our track guide here around the New Hampshire Motor Speedway and the GSRC Chevrolet SS. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
See how tricky it's going to be to try and get around this track in these powerful Cup cars, but the PRL NASCAR Cup Series is brought to you by North Star Title Company. North Star Title Company, LLC is a full-service title company handling closings for residential, commercial, construction, and refinances. Serving Houston and all major cities in Texas, you can find out more at northstartitletx.com. PRL NASCAR Cup is also sponsored by Established Traffic Control. Founded in 2005, Established Traffic Control is a leader in traffic control and traffic safety in the state of Pennsylvania through maintaining great relationships and providing exceptional customer service. In addition to being able to provide all you need for traffic safety, ETC makes custom signs. From street signs to company logos and everything in between, these custom signs make great gifts and wall decor. You have a design, ETC can make it. Shipping is available. For more info, visit establishedtraffic.com or email Brendan Chatley at bchatley@establishedtraffic.com. And finally, today's race is brought to you by Ford Entertainment Group PC. FEG PC's mission is to get you into your driving sim of choice. They have the lowest prices guaranteed on any brand new custom and pre-built gaming PC. And each one comes with iRacing pre-installed to include all the most widely used racing apps to further your sim racing experience. Whether you're new to sim racing or just upgrading your PC, you're ready to race right out of the box. Learn more at fegpc.net. That said, let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship now that we are past halfway through the season. Up at the top of that is J.R. Smith, and being very closely followed by Bradley Hawley, although J.R. has only recently taken that top spot. You can see they swapped around in the last round. Rowden back there stays in third, and then Rob Haynes finds himself within the top 5 before we get to a tie for 5th. So it is obviously staying close up towards the top. A lot could change before this is over. Christian, what about the team's championship for today? What are we expecting there?
Well, over in the team standings, we've got both Waterback Racing teams, number 1 and 2, pretty much got a stranglehold on it there. The top 2 spots. Then we got Hard Knocks Sim Sports 2 in third, got Forward Bite Racing in fourth, and Redline Racing in fifth.
And if you've never watched the PRL NASCAR Cup Series before, why don't we run down exactly how these races work and this 10 race season that they run? As we mentioned, we are in round 6, and you can see they get one drop week in this series from the round of 10. So they can have an off week, or if they need to miss due to real world obligations, they can duck away. Now, they have restricted the fuel, even though these are fixed setups. So you can expect a pit stop during this race. And though the race does say 90 laps, it is limited to 55 minutes. They have been having trouble to try and get all the laps in. They will have a green-white checkered if need be, and there is an incident cap out there of 17. With this being something of a short track, could wind up causing those incidents to rack up quickly out there. So they got to be careful. Currently, they are in warm up and just about to start qualifying. You were talking to me a little bit about kind of the nature of this track, Christian, and saying that coming off the corners, you expect that to be a real issue for these drivers.
Yeah, this is a really difficult track, especially getting off of the corner. You can have some problems on entry as well, where if you just brake a little bit too late, you can really wash up a lane higher than you mean, and that can definitely cause some problems, especially if you're alongside someone when that happens. But the main danger points is definitely out of turn 2 and somewhat out of turn 4. It's, as we can see in practice, it's pretty difficult for them to get off the corner without the back end really stepping out. So we definitely need to watch for that.
Let's hope that doesn't cause too many cautions. You could see the qualifying just starting up now that the warm up is over. Justin Rowden, for what it's worth, topped the timing sheets in practice. We'll see if he can mimic that here in the qualifying, as a few cars are now out on track to get their laps. The qualifying is solo. They have 2 laps to try and set their best time, but they have the track completely to themselves. We're watching Eddie Wildermuth out there. Is there a different approach between qualifying and the racing line in these cars, Christian, or is it pretty much the same between both?
Well, it really depends on your position. If you're out front, then the qualifying and the race lines are pretty similar to each other. I'd say that everybody probably goes a little bit harder in qualifying because with this track, there's a real noticeable drop off on the second lap for the tires. So that first lap, for especially the hot lap, is really gripped up, and you can be a lot more aggressive on your entry. And you kind of, if the back does start to slide a little bit, you hammer down and you try and get through it, just because it's just that one lap. Whereas in the race, you do want to drive a little bit kind of the opposite to that. You want to really take care of it, because if you start making those rear tires angry coming off the corner, it's only going to get worse for you.
Right now, the driver's trying to get those first hot laps in. We'll see if anybody can improve on the second one, but Rob Haynes provisionally holds the pole. We're still waiting for a number of drivers to come around for just the first one on the board. See Mike Richter from Texas coming through 3 and 4 as he tries to get a time on here, and as he crosses, actually he does have one down at 28.8. His second lap, significantly slower, 4/10 slower on the second time by. You weren't kidding, Christian.
Yeah, there's a really big difference. It's kind of crazy. You kind of do see that at a couple of tracks, but New Hampshire's one where it's very, very obvious when you get to that second lap, you just don't have the same grip that you once did. I'm a little bit surprised that we're seeing times in the 7s and 8s right now. I feel like the pole time's definitely going to be in the 6s. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll see a high 5.
Well, everybody likes a high 5, right? So let's take a look at the weather while we're waiting for more cars to put times down, because it does seem relatively hot on the surface of the track. 108 degrees with only a very slight wind out there. I have to imagine the relatively high temperatures aren't going to help the case of trying to take care of the car over a long run, will it?
No, it's going to make it very slick. I feel like we'll see people really struggling as early as maybe 10 to 15 laps into a run. And I expect if it goes green, we'll see people will pit pretty much exactly halfway as we have done in the other races. And as we were saying, actually, somebody goes out there and does do a 5. It's Anthony Job. He was 579, so it was possible. I felt like it was, and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, he goes ahead of Robert Besaw Jr., who is now on the outside of the front row. Rob Haynes, who we saw put his early good time in, has been bumped to third. Surprisingly, few drivers are coming out to put a qualifying time in, which, if that was their effort to try and grid up towards the back, unfortunately, some of them will wind up smack dab in the middle because we're still missing about half the field with the time. The laps come quick, so they could get out and get a time in still with just about a minute left on the clock. J.R. Smith now finds himself in second place ahead of Robert Besaw Jr., so he puts himself on the front row.
Interestingly, I just saw Justin Rowden. He pulled up on his first lap as he got to 3. I'm not sure he's going to have enough time to actually get his second lap in, so we'll have to see on that. He's coming off a pit road right now.
Yeah, it's going to be awful tight for him to get one down. With 28-second laps, he's really got to hustle, and he'll have to cross just about 28 to go, and he's not going to make it. Absolutely will not make it in time, and he's just at this point trying to see how much the rear tires can take as he gets wiggly off the corner. He's the last one on track, and nobody else is out there running, which means our times are set for the qualifying as the clock ticks down to 0. So why don't we go through our starting grid here for round 6 out of 10 in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. Anthony Job, as we mentioned, managed to get it on the pole. J.R. Smith will be second place with Robert Besaw Jr. in P3. Rob Haynes starts in 4th with Mitchell Clark in P5. Then it's Colton Lane starting 6th position. Mike Richter will be P7. Charles Sumner as 8th, and then Adam Zemke in 9th. Outside of row 5 will be Nick Ketchum in 10th. Christian?
Yeah, and we've got Brendan Chatley running in 11th. Daniel Moreno in 12th, Brendan Walder in 13th, Mike Catarino 14th, Eddie Wildermuth 15th, Alan Dobbs 16th, Rob Thomas is our last qualifier in 17th, and then we got Justin Rowden alongside him in 18th. Bradley Holly 19th, Joshua Daniels 20th, I believe, John Ambrose 21st, Damaris Hickenbottom 22nd, Warren Austin 23rd, Jason Silas 24th. And then I believe the gridding kind of gets a little bit jumbled after that because I'm not exactly sure how the iRating works.
Yeah, I'm looking at Austin in 20th, Seiler in 21st here, Carroll 22nd, and then McFarland 23rd. A few of these drivers might not even start. Looks like a few have left the session. Holly, Daniels, I know Ambrose will not be racing here. Roberts is 28th, but he also looks like he's left the session. Sean Dower not here. Tony Gray and Thomas Cristiano. So won't have quite as many cars as it may have looked like initially, but already the drivers lining up on the grid behind the Mustang pace car. We'll go around for a lap. Go green for 90 laps of racing or 55 minutes, whichever comes first here at New Hampshire. Pace car takes off to lead them around, and it is going to be Anthony Job leading them. Now, is it with him starting to the inside? You talked about the high line tended to be the favorite one. When we get restarts, do you expect him to switch that around and move up to the high side?
I think it'd be an interesting option to have. Usually the lead car has a pretty big advantage on a restart anyway, because they have that jump and they can really get clear and pick wherever they want by the time you get to 1. But I do think that'd be an interesting option to take. I don't think it would hurt you, for sure.
Well, we'll watch out for that when we get a caution. I know I should say if we get a caution, but I'm not too hopeful that we'll get through this entire thing completely green. It is a difficult 1 mile oval, flat 1 mile oval. These drivers are tackling very powerful cars. So as the Mustang pace car now peels into pit lane, Job has control, waiting Green flag is out. He does not get a good jump. In fact, it looks like he is outgunned by J.R. Smith up and around the outside. He's got a nose ahead. In fact, now he's fully ahead, and the number 3 is going to be into the lead by the time they hit turn 1. Rest of the field mostly too wide as they come out of the first corner, Christian.
Yeah, it was a brilliant restart. Well, a start by J.R. Smith right there. I was really surprised. Job just didn't seem to get away good, and Smith completely cleared him by the time he got to 1. I think that's going to set the tone if you want to pick the outside on restarts from this point forwards.
Certainly will. Most of the drivers getting single file until you get back to 8th position. Mike Richter on the inside of Nick Ketchum as they try to settle the spots out just ahead of the top 10. Unfortunately, Richter falls back, but he does find a way to slot into line just ahead of Zemke in P10.
Just taking a look back at Rowden, he's trying to move his way through the field pretty quickly. We know he was really fast in practice. He's thought better of a 3 wide right there. But we'll go back to P4.
Yeah, 4th currently being held down by Rob Haynes. He was trying to hold back Colton Lane for a moment. Lane backed out of it by the time they hit turn 1. It's behind him where it's 3 wide right now, actually, between Sumner and I see Chatley involved in that. Nick Ketchum around the high side comes out the best of them and manages to take P7.
As Sumner kind of saw that 3 wide developing and thought better of it, backed out of it. Pretty smart right this early in the run. I'd definitely probably do the same myself.
So far, so good. 4 laps into this race. The battle not over as we ride on board with Chatley. Looking back at Charles Sumner, this is for 8th position. Off the corner, Chatley doing a great job on the low side. He is going to get the run, and he is going to solidify that 8th place.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually that we're seeing so many people running as low as they are. And we got Rowden's getting some contact with the 22 of Dobbs coming out of 4 there. But I'm surprised how many people are running the bottom this early, and they're running really quite low actually. I felt like the top line would definitely be the defensive line, so it's interesting to see that people are. Oh, Dobbs has got a moment, saved it.
Woo, good catch by the 22. No caution, but he loses a ton of places, falling all the way back to 20th. Let's watch the replay on this one. This one up. This is coming out of turn 2. Dobbs, you can see, comes in on the high side, ducks down low like you were talking about. Not near anybody to get a touch. Just all on his own. Spun the tires.
Yeah, it's very easy to do that. Oh, we've got contact in 3. 16 into the back of Rowden, I believe. We both got it gathered up though.
Rowden is in the thick of it. He does indeed gather it up, and the 16 would be Warren Austin, who falls down because of the loss of momentum. Just got overtaken by Wildermuth and Dobbs.
It's getting exciting really quick, but we've not had any yellows yet. I'm surprised. We've had a lot of contact.
Well, they're doing a good job of seeing these bad situations happening and trying to back out of it, it looks like, especially as we watch the 16 continue to fight with Eddie Wildermuth up to his high side. That's number 26 in the blue and yellow. He's going to hold on, but only temporarily, because off the corner, finding the power, and the car almost getting away from him. Warren Austin is successful into moving into 18th position. A little side-by-side action between Zemke and Rowden. Talked about Rowden trying to work his way forward. He started 18th. This would be 13th if he can just get by. And once again, that low line working surprisingly well. It's kind of baffling, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. They've got a lot more roll down there on the bottom of 1 and 2 than I was expecting. It's not looking as easy as I thought it would be for the top line car to hold them off. So that's interesting to see, and hopefully that'll actually kind of open up some more passing at this racetrack, because it's been notoriously difficult to pass that.
Speaking of passing, nobody's been doing that to the leader, J.R. Smith, who continues to streak away. But second place is pretty hotly contested, because Job is ahead of Besaw Jr., and the number 43 has just been hovering behind him.
I feel like these guys are kind of kind of content to ride where they're at right now. They're all in the top 5. They've got a little bit of a decent gap between them all. There's really no kind of gains to be made right now in pushing. I feel like they do better if they just kind of ride here and stretch out the gap to the guys outside of the top 10 who are really having a fight.
Yeah, down in 9th even. We've got Sumner in the number 98, just ahead of Richter. 51 on the low side, you see in the red, yellow, and black as he drifts up. And I believe Sumner got into the wall coming out of 4. Looks like he got away with it.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine with that. It looked like he just tried to maybe kind of get the power a little bit early to hold on the top side and just about caught it. But I'm pretty sure he'll be okay with that. That won't be major damage.
Caterino now to his inside in the number 14, the dark blue and white machine. Seeing if he could crack a little bit higher up the field. Fortunately, not able to get the run off the corner. Sumner finally collects himself, working that higher line that we expected. Caterino can't do anything at this point, so he finally decides it's better to get back to the racing line. Behind him, you can see a little bit of a battle happening between Moreno and Rowden. Rowden hits the high side as well, and he's now going to look at 12th position. He is there. Decisive move by the number 24.
That's a much more conventional kind of pass for this racetrack. I was watching him, and he tried to get to the outside coming out of turn 2. He wasn't quite there, but he was definitely able to drive in deep on the top in 3 and make it stick coming out of 4. That pass on the top like that, I expect we'll see a lot more of that closer to the end of the race when people get more defensive.
Rowden continues to work on that climb, picking off driver after driver. Caterino is next on his hit list, but instead of going high like before, he ducks down low.
Caterino really able to make it work. Couldn't get there, but he's got a big run coming down into 3 here. He's looking again. Caterino goes high. Rowden's almost all the way to the bottom. I think he's going to be just about there. Yes, he is. And they side by side off of 4.
Thought they were going to come together. He's very good about getting off the corner as they are dead even entering into turn 1, but that low side is working for Justin Rowden, and once again, great throttle control from the 24. That gets him into 11th place.
Yeah, he's really moving up. We did expect this of him, but it's providing quite a lot of excitement for us, which is good to see.
A little bit behind, you can see some side-by-side between the number 2 and the 12. This is for 14th position. That's Zemke, who just lost out. They swing into turn 1, and the number 2 of Colin Carroll now finds himself P14. Across the backstretch once more. We've been green this whole time since the start of the race. We're on lap 17 already. And I imagine with this track being as short as it is, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of early pitters, will we?
I don't think so, no. We have seen that track position is a big deal. It is still difficult to pass. I know Rowden's out here making it look like it's not as difficult as I made out, but it really is difficult, as he's just actually gained another position on Sumner off of 2. But it does lend itself to a little bit of short pitting perhaps to get track position on cars that you're very close to on speed, because they'll find it very difficult to get past you. But realistically, with the fuel restriction and so on, I'm pretty sure we'll see everybody pitting around about 45.
All right, we'll watch on that. As Justin Rowden now up to 10th in the top 10. Now that he passed Sumner about a lap or so ago. Up next is Mike Richter ahead of him. Watch from Justin's perspective as he stalks yet another car.
He's been considerably quicker than Richter the past couple of laps. He had 2/10 advantage over him last time by.
It looks kind of like Justin maybe tries to square off the exit. Wow, he made that look easy on Richter in one corner, essentially gets through. But I noticed coming off of 3, it looks like he's kind of squaring off the exit. Is that something he'll pay for later, though? You talked about the tires a lot.
He might do, but sort of comes down a little bit to individual drivers at that stage. If you're really heavy on the throttle doing that, then yes, he absolutely can kind of kill your rear tires doing that. But if you manage it and you just make sure that you really unwind the wheel as you blend the power in, you can make it work. I'm actually a little bit more concerned for his right front because the more you diamond the corners, the more you lean on that on entry and the more you hurt that tire. So I don't think he's going to fall off, but it'll be interesting to see.
On screen, a nice battle between Nick Ketchum and Brendan Chatley is suddenly joined by Justin Rowden, who we were watching before. He's going for a 2-for-1. He gets at least Nick Ketchum into turn 1. I don't think he's going to be able to get Chatley off that corner. Ooh, a little bit of a slide from Rowden. That's the first we've seen of that.
Yeah, he has been really leaning on his tires, so it's not entirely unexpected. I thought he was maybe trying to make a bit of a look coming out of 3, but he's got to run here. He's actually got to the inside of him coming to 4.
Boy, he has figured this track out in a way everybody around him has not yet. And again, this is fixed setup, so all these cars are set up exactly the same. This is strictly down to how he is driving that machine out there. This bumps him up to P7 now. This is a monumental run by the 24.
Yeah, he's really moving up. I think it'll get more difficult for him the higher up the field he gets. I'm just looking at lap times, and especially the top 2 are running comparable times to Justin, so if he gets there, it's not going to be this easy for him to clear those pair.
And excuse me, he's the number 24, or 21, not the number 24. Down in 11th place, nice little battle between Sumner and Caterino. We watched these two much earlier. Sumner came out ahead last time, but I think that's going to be switched around because not only is it Caterino he's got to deal with, that's the number 25 of Daniel Cervantes Moreno, who manages to get a nose in down into turn 1. Can he do the same thing that Justin Rowden has been doing? He's going to try.
He's got to be careful here because the 2 might actually sneak in behind Sumner and pass both of them.
Oh, and he's got a roadblock in front. Caterino was slow off of turn 2, and by the time he reached turn 3, he was boxed in.
Sumner's kind of got a good run on the top. The 2's going to try and sneak in behind Sumner here and leave Daniel out to dry on the bottom, I think.
Don't know that Daniel's quite done with this. He's managing to find a little bit of pace on the bottom side. Now he finally gets it done. Oh, was that the 98 into the wall, or what was that bobble about? Oh, it was very bizarre. It was in the middle of the straightaway. From Sumner. Huh. Definite damage on the car that we can see from on board. Aero isn't too much of a concern, though, is it, around here?
It is a factor because it's just about long enough for it to play in, and the corner speeds aren't too low, but realistically, that probably looks worse than it is. I reckon it'll be about maybe a slightly long stop, an extra 5 to 6 seconds if he wants to fix that. I feel like he'll be okay, though.
What if we could pull up some lap comparisons between Justin Rowden and J.R. Smith? Because Justin's been in clear air for a while now. He's found a gap, and I did take note that he was about 8 seconds behind J.R. Smith, but I didn't see the exact time difference. So I wonder if he's actually gaining on the leader, or if this is just the next few cars that he's gaining on. Ooh. Oh, Rowden is chipping away. Look at that, consistently faster.
Yeah, now he's got into clean air. He's really closing that gap down. I think he'll be up on Mitchell Clark in just maybe even four laps. I reckon he'll get there.
Shockingly, despite our predictions, we have not had a caution yet. 30 laps in. Rowden's probably the one who wants it the most currently. Bunch the pack up, get him close to the leader as we were watching the 3, but the 21 of Rowden was very shaky coming off of 2. whether he's going to take the best out of his tires, and I think he may have. This little catch keeps it going, doesn't lose too much time.
See that slide right there is pretty much exactly the hardest part about this racetrack. Coming off of 2 and 4, it can really just snap around on you like that. And as you see, he might well be the fastest guy out on track right now, but he's not immune to that.
Certainly is not. Most of the field is settling into their own little piece of racetrack as well. But because everybody is spreading out, that means our leader, J.R. Smith, is starting to come up on lap traffic. He's going to get the 04 of Rob Thomas up to his high side. He manages to clear him safely through 3 and 4. Again, a little bit surprising that the preferred line was down low. I would have thought that Rob would have himself gone low and given J.R. Smith the high side.
Yeah, possibly, but it's always difficult as a lap car as to kind of what lane to give up, you know? I mean, I'm actually watching the 3 right now, and he's diamonding the corners really hard. So if you see that behind you, you go up to the top, and the guy then dives in and slides up to the lane you're in. It was about as painless as it could be for a lap car right there, and it's difficult at a track like this because you never know for sure exactly what line the passing car is going to want.
Surely a driver as fast as you doesn't have to worry about being lapped, right?
It's happened before.
I tease, but the number 3, ever since getting past that lapped car, has really dropped those behind by a significant amount. Anthony Job still trying to close in. Down at 15th, we've been having some action. Cervantes Moreno ahead of a side-by-side battle between Austin and Sumner. But I think the number 16 of Austin has got this one coming out of turn 3. They get single file once more.
Sumner's having a pretty interesting night right here. He's been in the vast majority of our battles, I think, and he's carrying a little bit of right front damage, and it looks like he maybe took a little bit too much out of his tires early on and is now kind of paying the price for that. He's dropped off a good bit the past 10 to 15 laps.
We looked away for 1 second. Remember, Justin Rowden spent a lot of laps in 7th place. He's already gotten 2 of them. He's in 5th place. Lane and Clark went down like they were nothing. Let's see if we can look at the replay and how he got this done. Lane in the number 60 machine on the high side, the dark blue. Certainly put up a little bit more of a fight now that he's getting up to the higher cars.
Yeah, I thought Lane might be able to hold on the top side there, but Rowden's really got the bottom rolling good, and he's just able to clear people.
As we come back live, Rowden's was blinking a lot for me just there. It looks like it may have settled out now. That was a little bit scary. I thought maybe we were going to lose him, which would be a real shame after all the hard work that he's done. It's another second up to the 4th place car, Rob Haynes. And then from there, he can start chipping away at the podium.
He is slowly closing down our leader. The gap was about 8 seconds. It's now down to about 7.8. So he is catching up, but every time he catches somebody and has to pass them, that gap elongates out just a little bit. So if it does stay green the whole way, it's gonna be tricky for him to get all the way to the lead, I think.
We've got a pitter. Robert Besaw Jr. comes down in. That was for position, if I'm not mistaken. It was not a lapped car.
Oh, he's coming down early, about 6 laps earlier than I thought people would do. So this is quite an aggressive early pit stop here.
Oh, he just averted disaster because Colton Lane just spun coming out of 2, but he spun into the grass. So no caution. Ooh, the 60 is really shaky. He could still lose this thing and cause a caution. He's not coming in yet either. He's going to try and stay out and wheel this thing. And Lane actually hit the wall significantly. Watch it one more time. Once again, nearly had another caution as we were watching this replay. Brandon Walter and Daniel Cervantes Moreno made contact and somehow caught the cars before they looped around.
Yeah, that was it could have been a really big moment right there. There's a group of cars side by side going down into one, and I thought we might see our first yellow with that, but they both got it bagged together and managed to keep it straight.
It's honestly kind of impressive that we haven't had that caution no matter how many times we get shaky scenarios. Charles Sumner also takes a stop. I see Seiler and Holden have been in and out. There's Sumner taking tires naturally. Besaw already well past him. Sumner returns to the track. These cars are... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like Besaw really pulled the trigger early.
Oh, and...
Yeah, we got Joe from second place coming down as well.
Exactly.
This is definitely earlier than I was expecting. I really felt like they would all run out to 45, especially given the gaps near the front.
So Job and Chatley both taking their stops. Job, our pole sitter, all the way down to the end in that number 91. So what did Besaw Jr. gain? Remember, he was pretty far up towards the front. And actually, Besaw Jr. is unlapping himself from one of the fastest cars on track, Justin Rowden. Job is out. And he is just barely ahead of Besaw Jr. Robert gained a bunch of time on those fresh tires.
He really did, but he's going to pay for it in the long run.
J.R. Smith, our leader, is in.
Rowden coming down as well.
And again, all these cars are trapped a lap down, so they really want it to stay green for as
Two
long
of
as
Carroll's
possible.
puddings as well.
Also got Cervantes Moreno. Austin is in. The dominoes are falling. Rob Haynes is our current leader, but it looks like he's preparing to pit himself. Indeed, he is. Smith is the highest car to have taken his stop. And the next one back is Anthony Job, who was trailing him for much of this race, but about where you see right now, 2.5 seconds back. This gap doesn't seem to have changed much.
It is interesting how many people elected to short pit and by as an aggressive margin as they did. And while it might be a short-term gain and cycle them up, it's definitely going to hurt them long run. We saw some people pitting as early as the end of 39 and 40, and that's a long way to go.
It really is, especially since we've seen no sign of cautions quite yet. J.R. Smith is in in first position now that he cycles around past Nick Ketchum. And with that, the pit cycle should be through because Ketchum and McFarland were our last two that we were waiting on. Gap back to Anthony Job, still 2.4 seconds between he and Smith. Besaw Jr., as we ride from onboard Job, seemed to gain a lot, but Christian does not feel confident about his strategy call. Justin Rowden, by the way, comes out in 4th place, which is where he was before. He's about 12.5 seconds back from Smith, though.
Yeah, he went 1 lap longer than J.R. Smith, so he does have 1 lap fresher tires, which is interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out towards the end.
That single lap cost him a fair bit of time, it looked like. Of course, he could have been dealing with cars unlapping themselves on fresh tires. We did see a little bit of that during that pit cycle. Going to be starting lap 50 soon. Rowden has climbed forward from 18th on the grid, lacking a qualifying time, now up to 4th. He's been really the one to watch most of this race, picking them off piece by piece. Hard work starts now because he's got 8 seconds up to third to get onto the podium.
He does have significantly fresher tires than Bissell, though. He's got 7-lap tire advantage on him, so I definitely think that's going to be a huge advantage for him.
The action once again is farther down in the pack. It is Brandon Walter ahead of Adam Zimke. For 11th position, Zimke in the number 12, the dark blue car you see on your screen, the white car, is Brandon Walter leading them into turn 1. And those two behind them are also for position, and a bobble from Walter is going to hand it over on a silver platter.
Loses 3 spots right there from that.
Gonna watch this one on replay from above. Seen that too many times today where drivers suddenly are running the low line through the straightaway just because they're trying to chase the car. Like you said, he lost out to Austin Ketchum and Zimke.
It's so easy to do that, especially when you're under pressure from behind. You kind of feel like you have to try and get a bit more drive off the corner, because that's really where the time's made at this track is in how early you can get to the throttle and how hard you can kind of get off the corners. So I can completely understand why we're seeing it so much, and it's very easy to do, and especially if you're battling, you can just a little bit too much throttle too soon, and we see it again with the 16 this time.
That would be Austin. And he almost gives that position right back to Walter, but he's not able to take advantage of it. Just behind them, you're catching flashes of a dark blue car, the number 60, Colton Lane. Remember, we watched him have hard contact with the inside wall. Despite that, he's actually stayed on the lead lap and is in 15th out of our 24 cars still running. I would have thought he would be close to dead last with what happened to him.
I think he is struggling with that damage that he's carrying, though. He has taken a considerable hit to the car. He's not lapping particularly quickly. At the moment, he's our last car on the lead lap.
Just about grazed the wall coming off of 4. That's Brandon Walter ahead of him. Walter continuing to try to himself stay on the lead lap, because don't look now, behind them, J.R. Smith gaining at a rate of knots. And this is exactly what Smith probably doesn't want right now, is if those 3 start fighting in front of him, that's bad news for our leader.
That's going to check him up a ton if he does encounter that. At the moment, he's got about a 3-second lead over Job and 1 lap fresher tires, so it's looking good for J.R. Smith right now, but he does not want to see a fight with lap cars in front of him right now.
So as he gets closer and closer to the number 60, is he trying to pick his way, figure out their behavior, see if he could find a hole to go through? Still got a couple more laps before. Well, maybe he doesn't. He is very strong into turn 1 compared to those two and gains a bunch of that time. He's maintaining the gap back to Justin Rowden, who seems to be or seemed to be one of his biggest threats earlier on. The 60 is going to let him through nice and easily, gives up the battle ahead so that he doesn't hold up the leader. The gap to Rowden is 12 seconds still roughly to J.R. Smith, so he's not been able to make inroads. But Rowden has halved the gap to Besaw in 3rd position, so I think a podium is still very on the cards for Justin.
I think Besaw's tires are starting to hurt him now. He lapped 0.3 of a second slower than Rowden the last lap. I definitely think that we'll see Rowden get up to 3rd.
Well, going back to this battle between Charles Sumner on the low side with Thomas up high. Well, Thomas actually, that's a lapped car, so that's not for position. But he's certainly not getting out of the way of Sumner.
He's running the top and really actually making it difficult for him right here.
Jeez. Here comes Zimke. Zimke sees what's going on. He tries to run the high side right along with Rob Thomas. Now he ducks low, though. Thought maybe he would try to follow. Oh, as the 04 nearly gets run into from behind by the 61.
I think what happened there was the 04 kind of realized what was going on as they went into 1, and I saw him brake a little bit earlier, and I think he was trying to let them go, and that's why he was checking up off of 2. The 12 now to the inside. I think he's gonna let him go, maybe not. No.
He's gonna drive it in deep up on that high line. The 12 gonna try and run it off the corner, and a small slip up from Charles Sumner does allow Zemke to nearly get fully ahead. Can he seal the deal though? He could drift up if he wants to, and I think he's got this done. Instead, now Sumner has to worry about the next car on the low side. That's the number 61 of Ketchum, who's almost fully ahead by the time they hit turn 1.
Sumner's able to really roll in on the top side actually, but he's kind of struggling, I think, in 3 and 4. He looks really strong on the entry to 1 though. It's been really difficult. Even right there with Ketchum had such an advantage on him. Sumner actually rolled up on his right rear going into the corner there.
But it's all said and done now because Nick Ketchum is now into 11th. Zemke is in 10th, but I'd say Ketchum's on a mission. In fact, he's on a mission that he's going to try and execute right now because he looked to the inside once more.
He's not quite there coming off of 2.
He's clearly happy with his car right now, though. Able to make some confident moves. Not missing anything up front, by the way. Smith still leading by about 4 seconds over Job, so this is where the best action is.
Ketchum does have the freshest tires of anybody out on track right now, so that might be playing into why we're seeing him cut through the field so strong. He probably lost a little bit of track position pitting after everybody, and now he's having to work back through them.
Going to play the race a little bit backwards here. The number 61. Getting very aggressive on the rear spoiler of Adam Zemke. Once again, down low. Once again, going in deep. But can the 61 actually make it stick? That's the question. Off the corner, those fresher tires are doing him well. And I think the 61 could have it. Once again, taking it in hard into turn 3. He demotes the number 12 down to 11th. Move Ketchum into the top 10. Now we might have a battle for third. We might have a battle for third happening soon because Justin Rowden now has it down to 0.6 of a second up to Bissau. A little bit of damage on the front of the 43 as well.
I'm not sure where he would have picked that up, actually, because he didn't look like he had that damage before the pit stops, so maybe he's had contact with a lapped car.
Could be. Justin Rowden disappearing out of view because he's going ahead of the 43 and making it look easy yet again. 7 seconds up to Anthony Job. How many laps do we have left, though? I think only 23 to go. And still no cautions.
I am really surprised that we haven't had any yellows here. This track's notorious for it, and they've gone green the whole way.
6th place between Mitchell Clark and Brandon Chatley goes to Brendan. The 59 stays ahead, and don't forget Colin Carroll. That's 4th position behind them in the number 2, that orange and black machine, trailing both of them. Clark trying to work a little bit low around the corner, see if he could do something different than Chatley. He does something different, but it really doesn't gain him anything.
It looked like he was trying to get the drive off to get underneath him going into 3. He's not quite there, but he might be on the exit of 4. Yes, he is. He's got good drive. He might be able to clear him into 1. We'll have to see.
Down into the corner. Worked last time, taking it in deep. Maybe it'll have to come around to turn 3, though, because into turn 1, they looked pretty even. The 42 struggling to get on the throttle. He's got half a car length ahead of the 59. And as he slides it down into turn 3, the 42 now moves himself up to 6th position.
Yeah, it's a really nice move. It all started as he was coming off of 4 the previous lap. He didn't quite have him cleared going off of 2, but he was able to really send it in on the very bottom and have him cleared in the middle of 3.
You know, you talked about not liking Robert Besaw's strategy. Well, he's lost another position recently to Rob Haynes, who's now up to 4. So Besaw falling down to P5. And again, this is still a net loss for him. He started in 3rd.
Yeah, when you pit that early, it just kind of hurts you on the very long runs.
Harold managing to get by Chatley after they were left in the dust by Mitchell Clark. So Chatley starting to move backwards. He is on 2-lap older tires than Carroll and 3-lap older tires than Clark.
Still a little bit surprised to see that. I felt like he was going to fight him a bit harder, but no, he just kind of saw him coming and went, nope, I'll let you go and we'll see what you can do.
The race is coming a lot closer to the end of things as we go to the battle between Zim and Austin. That's Austin that you see in the red car. We ride on board with Adam Zimke in the number 12. They actually, ahead of them, a bit of a checkup. Ketchum was behind our leader, J.R. Smith. They've recently been lapped. So that could bring a 3rd car into this fight, and indeed it has. Look how close the number 12 starts to get to the bright green and white number 61. That's a lapped car to the outside, the purple number 09 of Hickenbottom. He's just trying to stay out of the way.
Got into the wall a little bit there, but he does stay up there and gets clear of everybody in that battle.
Everybody's able to sneak on through without having any sort of hassle. Down through 1 and 2 once again. Zimke, though he's much closer to Ketchum, looks like he is much more concerned about his rear view mirrors because the 16 is hounding him at every corner.
Good run off of 4 here. He might take a look into 1.
He's poking his nose out. He looks to the inside, but he decides better of it. So he's going to stay tucked in behind that blue and orange car. Now he ducks low once again, a little bit too low. Wheel cranked a little too much, and the rears start to slip away. He's got to redo all that work all over again.
Yeah, he really got suckered into that whole thing of trying to get on the power just a little too early. I could see it. I was like, man, he's got a really good roll. He might be able to do it. And then I just saw the car cutting a bit more than it should do. And I was like, oh no, he's got in it slightly too hard.
So he's regained the ground relatively quickly. He's once again on the back of the number 12. This time a little bit smoother off the corner. Lap traffic down below could box them in. That's Seiler. The 033 just trying to stay out of the way. This actually, whoa, and that's a problem behind them. The 60 spins. He comes to a halt on the front stretch, and our first caution of the day. Colton Lane. We thought he was going to cause the first one many laps ago. And this happened with his 16 down to his low side, but he didn't touch anyone.
I think he saw an opportunity to maybe gain a spot right there, because that would have been for position on the 16. And I saw him appear in shot actually, and I was just about to mention how he moved into that battle, and then he moved out of it pretty quickly.
That's for sure. A great job though, locking the car up and avoiding hitting the wall. But this packs everybody up. And let's see, how many laps do we have left right now? This is a tough call. We're going to be 11 to go here when they come around to the pits. Christian, put yourself in the leader's shoes. You pit,
You have to. Yeah, with the new green-white checker system, and that guarantee of having that restart, you have to pit. You have to pit. You have to take 4. I think if you stay out, you're really gonna struggle.
Nick Ketchum stays out, but he is a lap down. So our lead cars. I saw Smith come in. Anybody else? I see Job. Oh, he was a long way back. Look at the gap between them. That's how many lapped cars they had between them.
I believe everybody on the lead lap did come down.
And we had such a long green flag run. You're right. We only had 9 cars left on the lead lap. Everybody else is having to wait their turn. JR well clear since he had such a gap to the cars behind. Job is back out. And now, interestingly, Nick Ketchum did not come in.
I believe he was a lap down, though. I'm sure J.R. Smith had just passed him. I think the scoring loop might have scored Ketchum as being on the lead lap because Smith came into the pit lane.
Wouldn't he have come into the lane the lap after the leaders, which he did not? He stayed out. See, he's cycling up to 3rd. Ah, now he's coming in.
No, he's coming down now.
Just a lap later than we expected, maybe.
See, now that's an interesting role right there for him to pit. If I am correct in that he was a lap down, he'd actually just moved himself into wave round position, so he's going to give that up for the benefit of fresh tires. Maybe he's banking on there being another yellow on this restart.
Well, that's true. As we see the rest of our lapped cars returning to the circuit. See Cervantes Moreno coming back around. In fact, a number of cars I think are ahead of the leader. So I'm seeing McFarland, Dobbs, Lane, Walter, Sumner. Hickenbottom is heading in though, so he won't get his lap back. Seiler, Austin, Zemke. There's a lot of cars that are going to be waved around. Hopefully they can get packed up in time.
They should be able to with a field of this size. It's only really a issue with really big fields to kind of get backed up because it is only a 1 mile, so it's not a trivial matter to get back up to the pace car after the wave around.
Lights are off, so they are double file as everybody speeds their way back to the tail of the crocodile. We're going to get going with 8 laps to go. And again, we have a green-white checker in this series. We need to double check if it is only 1 or if they have 2 that they allow in this series. We'll get back to you on that in a bit. So, J.R. Smith elects to take the inside. Is he going to get a better jump than the car to the outside has? Job. Yes, he is. Job was the one that lost the start on the last time this green flag waved. He's going to lose the opportunity once again, but this brings Justin Rowden into the mix. He immediately pounces into 3rd place. The number 21 has 1 car between himself and the leader, but can he run him down in time?
I think it's going to be difficult. It all depends on how quickly or if he can clear Job, really.
He's going to be a man on a mission. He's got fresh tires to try and do it. Job just ahead of him in the number 91. Looks down low. The gap between Rowden and Smith nearly up to a second already. He's got to do this quickly. Down the back stretch and into turn 3 once more. It's going to be 6 to go this time, buying a big slide by Rowden as he takes it in too deep. This opens an opportunity for Rob Haynes to look to the inside down the front stretch. Don't know that he's really got enough of anything underneath him to take it away, and indeed he has to settle to stay in that 4th.
Yeah, it looked like Rowden was really trying hard to get everything he could on entry to 3, and it's very easy to get that where you just kind of You brake a bit too late and the rear steps out, and then you slide in all the way through to the center of the corner.
Down to 5 laps to go this time by, and Smith has been caught by Job. What's happened here?
Job has just ran 2 really great laps and really pulled Smith right in. It's impressive, really.
Wow, the 91, not only has he pulled him in, he's going on the attack.
Oh,
He looks to
he
the
sent
inside,
him.
he gives him a tap. The 3 catches the car, and in Dale Earnhardt style, the number 91 moves himself to the top spot. Ooh, that is probably not going to sit well with J.R. Smith. Does he come back and retaliate? 4 laps to go now.
I think
Rowden,
Job should
well
be really
behind.
worried if he gets to it.
That's for sure. Looking back at the Mustang of the number 3, and he does
Yeah.
get down to his low side. He doesn't drift up though. He keeps it down low. Momentum in favor of the 91, but just barely, almost brushing the wall out of the corner. Rowden's collected himself. What was 7/10 of a second is now cut down to 4/10 of a second. Could this be a 3-way fight for the lead?
Got to be coming to 2 to go. It all depends on if there's more contact between the 91 and the 3 right here as to whether Rowden gets into it. But I'm really surprised that J.R. Smith wasn't more aggressive when he got back to him the last lap. I don't think I would have been as nice.
And if they hit that white flag, oh, there it comes. He's looking for the bump and run. He gets there and he gives him a tap, but it's not enough. He's still to the inside. If they get to the white flag, it is green all the way to the end. The 3 sends it in deep, looks for the slide job. He manages to get down in front, but the over-under back to the number 91. They're going to bang doors as they come off the corner. They are side by side as they get the white flag. Who is this going to be? They're well ahead of Justin Rowden. It is down to these 2. Deep into the corner. The number 3 gets a tap, and he falls backwards. The 91 doesn't lose the car, and the number 21 of Justin Rowden is nowhere near to try and save it, to try and take it away. Anthony Job. Oh, he sends it in deep, though, as Justin Rowden thinks about trying to Hail Mary. It does not pay off. It is going to be Anthony Job. A rough and tumble finish to this 1-mile circuit. Round 6 goes to Anthony. Rowden, after all is said and done, climbs to 2nd position, just shy of a win. Rob Haynes takes 3rd. Surprisingly, J.R. Smith fell all the way to 4th. Oh, and he is not happy.
We've got some post-race
JR.
action.
Ooh. Let's take a look at the racing first. This is those 2 working their way around. That is a fantastic move by Anthony Job to get side by side. And I don't know if JR really has reason to be angry for this one, because that to me looked like netcode potentially even.
Possibly. I think it's one of those where he was probably always going to hit him anyway, but I don't know. I think netcode might have made that worse, but I think there was always going to be contact.
You can see he does gather it up, and he does keep going. We'll watch it one more time here. Yeah, there's just a slight bit of netcode involved with that. Now, the other incident, though, I could see him being upset about, the little tap that he got into turn 3 earlier. We'll have to ask them, though, after the race, because we've got to collect our breath. We'll come back after the unofficial results and the upcoming races on your screen. But stick around for the post-race interviews, because they could be spicy. Welcome back to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. This 1 mile flat oval not only gave us a lot of green flag racing, but it also gave us one of the wildest finishes we've seen so far here in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, with Anthony Job, who was the pole sitter, winning the race but barely leading any laps at all. And it came down to a bump and run and then door banging to decide the winner. Justin Rowden, who failed to get a qualifying time in, came from 18th on the grid and wound up in second. He was oh so close to a victory, maybe a couple more laps, and I think he may have had it. Rob Haynes got third, and then Mitchell Clark finished fourth. It's J.R. Smith, who was the leader of the vast majority of the laps around today's race. Even though he started in second, he took it at the very start of the race, and then suddenly he was clearly upset after the two contacts that were made late in the race, as he expressed his displeasure physically with the other car. Colin Carroll finished sixth place, with Mike Caterino taking a quiet but well-deserved seventh. Colin Carroll, by the way, from 22nd on the grid to that sixth place. Brendan Chatley finished in P8, with Nick Ketchum in ninth. And Robert Besaw Jr. unfortunately played the wrong strategy today. He qualified third, but he finished in 10th.
We got Warren Austin in the 11th with Adam Zemke in 12th. They were kind of pretty much a focal point for us most of the race. They were having a good battle the whole time, so that was cool to see. Then we got Colton Lane. He had that incident early on, and he was only able to recover to 13th. Robert McFarland, we didn't really talk much about him. He was 14th. And we had Brandon Walter in 15th, Charles Sumner in 16th. Both of those we were, again, kind of focused on for a lot of the race. I know we spent a good amount of time on Sumner. We had Daniel Moreno in 17th, and he was kind of part of that battle too. And the first car off the lead lap. And we had Mike Richter in 18th, Jason Siler in 19th, Eddie Wildermuth in 20th.
21st goes to Damaris Hickenbottom, with Rob Thomas finishing 22nd. Then Alan Dobbs, P23, and Craig Holden in 24th. The cars below are did not starts, I believe. That would be Holly Daniels, Ambrose Roberts, Dara Gray, and Cristiano. We do have the drivers that did take part, including our winner, as Anthony Job is ready to talk to us here about what looks like a bit of a controversial victory. Anthony, it was exciting at the end. We were surprised to see you lose the lead at the very start, but then you got it back at the very end. But talk to us about the two contacts that were made. What's your perspective on them?
Well, it's interesting, and we like to have exciting finishes here in the PRL, but maybe not necessarily in that sort of regard. We went down into turn 3 on lap 85, I think it was, and to me, I didn't feel like we made contact. I thought it was a little bit of net code there. And I come over the radio and I told JR, I said, JR, I feel like that was net code, man, but you do what you got to do, because we like to race, and I've raced with JR a long time, and I don't think we've ever made contact. And I got to tell you, he's one of the best pavement drivers on this sim when it comes to stock cars. Like literally the two biggest moments I've had on this sim is beating him straight up. And, I'm going to count this one too as number 3. He might not, but the last lap, man, we both drove it in deep down there in turn 1, and he squeezed me, and I came up, and that is what it is. But it is nice to take a victory in such an exciting fashion. And I might have some splaining to do, but it's all done for now.
This being a bit of a flat track, and you being a Hoosier, do you have experience running fast ovals? I know Indianapolis likewise is pretty shallow on the banking.
Indy is a good track for me. I'm still learning these stock cars, and actually, I haven't done much Cup period for a long time. But when we decided we were going Cup, I said, all right, I'm going to start doing a little bit of it. So guys like Bradley and JR and Justin, they're a little bit of a step above me. I'm more of a dirt guy myself. But for whatever reason, this just started feeling pretty good to me. And I'd done a couple official races and wasn't quite as good as I was today. So, when we started off the race, my plan was never to race JR off the start. I tucked in behind him, worked on saving the tires. Just so happened we got 76 some laps of green flag racing, so it worked out pretty good for me. And honestly, I didn't expect to have enough speed for him there at the end. I don't know if he took fuel on two, which I definitely did not. I took four tires, no fuel, and suddenly I was just a little bit quicker. So, it's good to get a win against quality competition like that.
Well, that going from dirt ovals to stock cars is sort of a traditional transition. So I wouldn't say you're too unusual in your path on this, but uh, clearly you're taking to it very well. I mean, how are you approaching this season now that you find yourself uh, with good results such as this? Do you think about the championship at all, or are you just having fun?
It's hard not to think about it, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be there. I didn't expect to actually bring home a victory. To be honest with you, I got two last season in the Xfinity, but we've gained so much competition here going forward to this season. So it was something where my goal was to try and see if I can find that top five in the points, but after something like this, I guess you kind of got to switch focus just a little bit and see what you can do.
Well, again, congratulations. A pole to victory day, but certainly wasn't straightforward, but you gave us a good show.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man, it is what it is. I guess that's racing. But I want to thank PRL for putting this show on. You guys, you do a fantastic job. Everybody's at Elbows Up TV and Elbows Up Sim Sport on the dirt side. I got a lot of great people around me. My teammate Charles Sumner finally bringing one home. He's had such bad luck, but he was out there to the finish too. So it's just real pleasure to be able to do this.
That was our winner, Anthony Job, talking to us. Christian has caught up with second place finisher Justin Rowden, who had a lot of work to do today.
Yeah, we seem to be finding ourselves talking to Justin a lot. He's always kind of making our races exciting, and I know we cover him a lot in the coverage too, really because of that. And again today, it kind of coming from the back, and another time getting from 18th to second. It's a good finish, but I felt like you had the pace to win again. And is it getting frustrating, kind of starting at the back and having to fight through, or do you enjoy it when that happens?
It's frustrating for sure. I thought I could have put down a lap to start up front, but I choked in qualifying, so that kind of got us behind the eight ball. And from there, from there on out, staying green most of the race made it real hard to get track position to compete. We got that late yellow and thought I had a chance, but just came up short.
Yeah, I was actually watching you when you were doing your qualifying laps, and I saw you pulled it up on the first attempt going into three, and we actually commented on it on stream that you weren't going to have enough time to get that second lap in. Was that just a kind of a timing mistake in terms of kind of allocating enough to go for that second attempt, or was your intention really only to go to Vermont in the first place?
Yeah, I just kind of lost track of time. I had a good lap going on my first lap out, and I kind of messed up three and four. I think if I would have just stood on it and finished the lap, it wouldn't have been bad, but I knew I could do better. And I guess just got a little cocky, tried to get too much out of it.
It's easier to do that, and I don't want to put you in kind of a controversial position here on this, but you were behind that lead battle at the end. What were kind of your thoughts when that was unfolding in front of you?
Well, I know JR is above me in points, and so I was kind of hoping that he would get dumped just so that I could make up some ground having missed last week. Um, as for fault, I don't know. It's, racing hard for the win towards the end of the race. And New Hampshire is kind of one of those tracks where the preferred line is kind of right in the middle, so it's hard to kind of place blame sometimes. It's just hard racing for the win.
Yeah, speaking of that, actually, we commented before the race that it was going to be pretty hard to pass, and to be honest, it looked like you were able to make the bottom work really good in one and two. Did you find it as it is traditionally super hard to pass here, or did you actually find that with this new package it's maybe a little easier?
I think a lot of guys had a lot of give and take. I think a lot of guys, when I caught them, just kind of rolled off and let me go and didn't battle too hard. So it's hard, probably not as hard as it has been in the past, but I knew I needed to stay low and kind of save my tires coming from the back. And I think a lot of guys were charging the corner real hard and sliding up and kind of wearing their stuff out. So as the run went on, it got a little bit easier to pass. And then, like I said, I think guys were just courteous.
Yeah, I mean, when we were looking at your lap times, you looked to be one of the most consistent guys out there, and you had really good pace. And you mentioned a little bit about the championship a couple of minutes ago, right here. But are you still kind of thinking about that? Is that your goal? Are you still trying to pick up P1 in points here?
Yeah, definitely. I got down. I had something come up last minute last week, and I had to miss the race, and I got kind of bummed out because I wasn't very aggressive at Daytona. I just wanted to survive and kind of use Daytona as a drop week, and I was planning on showing up to the rest of the races. So when I had to miss last week, it kind of put me in a bind points wise because then Daytona I think became my drop week, and it kind of put me further back than where I wanted to be. But I think I was 18 points out coming in behind JR. And, like I said, unfortunate for him, he got dumped, but it kind of worked in my favor. So I think we're still in it. I got some good tracks coming up and just going to try to dig and be there at the end of the season.
Well, yeah, good luck going forward with the championship, man. You really make our broadcast exciting. I know we talk about you a lot, and some people might wonder why, but you're always in the battles and everything. So it looks like you're having a fun time out there, and we're glad to talk to you again.
Yeah, man, you guys do a great job. I appreciate it.
That was second place finisher Justin Rowden. Up next, the bottom step of the podium, Rob Haynes, ready to talk to us. And Rob, I have to admit, after the last two, who had lots of action to talk about, your race seemed pretty timid, honestly. And I don't mean timid in your pace, but just it looked like not a lot happened for you.
Those are sometimes the best races, Joe. I was pretty calm around my bumpers and at New Hampshire. That's probably a good way to have it.
Absolutely. Uh, were you worried at any point that it would go green the whole way through, though? We were kind of shocked at how much green flag racing there was.
Yeah, I kind of settled in. I pretty much knew I was a fifth or sixth place car, somewhere in there, and I settled in. And by the time we got just past lap 70, I think I thought this is going to go green the rest of the way. I mean, I'm got no one around me. I'm in pretty good shape. This could be a good, nice top five. But that last caution came out and stirred the pot a little bit. And man, I'm happy. I didn't expect to be talking to you
Yeah, well, pleasant surprise, I suppose. This is something of a unique track on the schedule anymore with stock cars, and we're going to a unique track next week in Pocono. Are you any good at the Tricky Triangle?
Yeah, I like to think I can run pretty well there. Yeah, the corners, all three being different. I mean, I like the tracks that they're pretty much modeled after. So, yeah, I mean, that's a track where you got to make all three corners to have a good lap, and so many times you just can't do that. There's always one that throws you out of balance a little bit, and I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent stuff. Well, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, of course, PRL for the series they put up and everything they do in the league. North Star Title Company for sponsorship of the league, Established Traffic Control. You guys up at GSRC, thanks very much for everything you do. We appreciate it. The fans who are watching, every time I go and watch, there's more numbers going up. So I appreciate what everybody's doing, and it's really fun to be a part of this league. And congrats to AJ on the win, and Justin, what a run from 18th. That was awesome. And I didn't expect to see those leaders together there at the end, but that's the way racing goes, and I was able to slip through there and grab a podium. That's fantastic. I'm happy with that, guys. Appreciate it.
I would be happy too. That was Rob Haynes, our third place finisher, and closes out our last interview of the day. We also want to thank the sponsors of this series because they make all this happen. NorthStarTitleTX.com is where you can find North Star Title. And once again, go check them out, see what they can do for you. Established Traffic Control as well can be found at establishedtraffic.com. Again, custom sites if you want something made for you. It's not just for people doing road construction. It's cool stuff you can get for your place. Ford Entertainment Group PC can be found at fegpc.net. a must visit for any sim racer who is serious about their craft at great prices that they have to put together a quality PC for you. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Christian, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You also can find us on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Next week, we are coming back for another bit of coverage here for the Cup Series. That'll be at Pocono, Sunday, July 28th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern. We'll also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.